Doctorate, Integrative and Preventive Healthcare. The content discussed in this episode is for informative purposes only
and should not be replaced by individualized professional consultations or professional medical advice.
Hey guys, I'm Tasha.
Hey listeners, this is Guni, and we're here to discuss lifestyle medicine. Hi everyone. So today we'd like to speak about modern day dating. After we've all watched this popular show called The Tinder Swindler, which I think has traumatized some of us, me particularly. It has brought to a light that, a lot of psychological and behavioral pattern behind online dating that we'd like to unpack, which brings me back to the ultimate question, which is, what is the intent when we are on those dating applications? And can it lead to true intimacy?
And for this, we have Krishna Vellasamy, a.k.a. Krish Vells, as he's known in his community, a UK-based graduate psychologist, currently completing a doctorate in chartered Western counselling psychology and psychotherapy. He specialises in LGBTQ, BAME, addiction, and generational trauma. Krishna is currently working therapeutically with the Sri Lankan Tamil refugee diaspora, BAME, child sexual abuse in the Tamil community, in an organization that specializes in HIV called Positive East in London. So welcome to Doctorate, the podcast, Krishna. It is going to be a very interesting conversation, and we're super excited to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, welcome, Krishna. So to start this conversation, we want to unpack what is the intention for using online dating applications. So there was a study done where participants noted that they used dating apps in pursuit of validation of their self-worth. And 40% of online daters reported that being on a dating site had a positive impact on their self-esteem. What does these 40% really imply?
I question what were the demographics that was represented in the 40%. I personally, as a clinician, I will look at the 40% and study the demographics of people who actually took part in the survey. And then I will see, so the 40% are, for example, blonde, blue-eyed, etc., the ideas of beauty that is predominantly across the world now. The 40% feels good because the world is mirroring back to you that you are attractive on the basis that the idea of beauty is this, the set terms of measurement. Does that make sense?
It does a lot, because I see myself being very self-conscious when I'm in Switzerland, for example, where there's a big white majority. I don't think that I fit the standards. So I am conscious that I won't get potentially as much likes than my white counterpart, female blonde, which when I'm in Southeast Asia, I know that, I am attractive to the greater population.
Wait. Let me share you a story that how I found out after many, many decades of feeling unattractive. I didn't know that I was good looking or even okay. I didn't know. I still don't know what that means. One day I was in Cambodia in Siem Reap, the Angkor Wat temple. I came across this figure of this huge male body from the Khmer period that had the exact curves of my tummy and the thing. And I looked at it going, oh, it took a Angkor Wat Siem Reap male figure to tell me that, okay, you're okay. You just cannot measure yourself against the Western world, which is what all of us do, if that's all we see. Trust me, people say, people say, oh, you don't even know. No, I cannot believe it, but people have no idea. This is why it's called internalization of how we kind of adapt to our external environment, that you don't even know that you have internalized it.
Right.
Until you have a child and you're saying, don't go under the sun, you will get karupu, you will get dark. And then you find yourself going, oh, this has happened to my friends. They will go, oh my, because it takes a certain circumstances to bring out the internalization.
Drawing it back to online dating, how do you see that as an impact on the psyche?
I think it's an extraordinarily loaded question, because there's no one answer to this. However, I can say this. the impact of internalization that you grow up. I've heard my auntie say, "Oh, Krishna Kumar karuppa irundalam kuncham alagatan." But even though Krishna Kumar is dark, he's quite okay. So you internalize it, but as a kid, you don't forget the implication on it, because as a kid, you tend to kind of be in the present, you live through the day, but it's been internalized. So the implication is you build self-worth, particularly if you come from cultural backgrounds like us, where the concept of individuality is quite Western. Because in our culture, you are either someone's son or daughter, niece, cousin, etc., the son of, the sister of, the cousin of.
Right.
So because it's down to the collective identity, which has extraordinary benefits for to go through life. And I think it's a blessing if you have it. However, the individual cause and effect of beauty ideals and self-worth, it's something that we cultivate over time. And if it's been if the child developmental stages, if the cultivation, the developmental stages is interrupted with all these things, and the self-worth, which is really the value added to our worth, if it's linked to the external achievement, so the self-worth as an individual is not developed on its own through joyful expressions, through joyful being alone, the encouragement of being alone. So we don't know who we are, but we know who we are in relation to other people, because that's the socially constructed narrative that we have.
So we get self-validation by a construct or framework that society with relations to someone. So it's all external. But how are we using that on dating apps?
Fantastic question. How is this projected? How is your childhood projected onto a dating app is the question. Is there a possibility that our childhood desires unmet, childhood dreams unacknowledged, childhood wishes unheard, be projected onto some savior externally from us, irrespective of the gender that you are attracted to? And if so, a dating app, how can it be the reason why there are so many singletons out there? It cannot be. It doesn't make sense. Yeah. Dating app is really a gateway. One of the fundamental things that I always tear up when I say this, so please excuse me if I cry. Luckily, I don't have makeup on, so I'm good. I think that if you have the privilege in today's world with a full stomach, you know where you're going to get your 3 meals, and you have a family background or an environment that doesn't persecute you as a man or a woman in pursuit of your version of happiness, you have it good. And if we talk about it into dating world, what is dating? Dating is a wonderful gift, a wonderful opportunity. If you watch Tinder Swindler, you will see, if you take away the actual protagonist, the bad guy that was taking advantage, it has a psychological implication on these women. But what were the women's responsibility as well?
Yeah.
Were they projecting? Were these victims? They're truly victims, and I hope they really get well and trust again and start dating again according to what works for them in the future. And I really mean that. But question is, as a clinician, I ask, was there projection onto someone you have met based on lifestyle, based on economics? What was going on there? So in my training, which is existential pathway, it's called the existential modality, we ask the question, what is going on with this victim that was projecting this particular narrative of being in love with somebody who has a private plane, goes here and there? What's that about? Are we talking about, are you then looking to be saved? Yeah.
I mean, like in the show, one of the girls, the first girl, I think, she talks about the fairy tale, right? So she gives the analogy of like someone
Beauty
swooping
and the
her,
Beast. Yeah.
yeah, and then swooping her on her feet and like, kind of captivating her with his whatever, like luxuries, right? And while I watched it, I was cringing, and I was like, is it something that I internalized to some degree? And then why is this girl saying this out loud to anyone? But actually, it made me think about it, because it, in a lot of ways, that statistic that Guni was reading earlier, that validation aspect of it, I think people need to be very, very conscious and also aware about what they're getting validation for while they're on these dating apps, because otherwise you don't know what you're getting validation for, and then you go into something exactly like these goals, hoping and wanting something else, and then you find yourself in, this is a terrible situation where you're in debt, but this could also lead to lots of different things like abusive relationships. And so what are the dynamics you're inviting into your life, right? Because you haven't addressed these things. And like, for example, when you were explaining earlier, the internalization of things because of beauty standards and getting that external validation, right? But a person like me, who's a bit bigger, and then all my life in society, I'm told, oh, someone who's bigger wouldn't be able to have a relationship. So you have to be a certain size so that you can get a relationship. And so if you don't have that, you should take anybody who gives you attention, because you don't deserve to get attention because you're not this particular beauty standard. And so in a bigger overview, right, when you get this combination of people coming into a space where there's so many things unaddressed, and if people are unaware or don't have self-awareness, this is a recipe for disaster in my eyes, which is why I have actually personally taken myself off all dating applications, because it's too messy for me.
Right. So 49% of online daters report looking for marriage, and then 47 report that they are specifically seeking for casual sex. There's a lot of confusion in this. And as you said, you're basically looking at a pool of people that are interacting with different intentions, with different patterns, with different psychological profiles.
Becomes complicated. Now, look, the way you have explained it, it's wonderful. I'm now going to complicate matters for both of you even further and confuse you. Guni, you mentioned that there is a pool of people out there in terms of the dating world that we bring our own stuff into, we bring our own story into it. You say that there is a pool. I say, where is the pool when you are swiping left and left? Well, was it left or right or north or south? I don't know. But apparently you swipe.
It's only left and right.
Oh, left and right. So you swipe left and right. So your pool, there is no pool, actually. You are, by looking at a person's photograph and a couple of things that's written, you don't have a pool. You are actually projecting your belief system. You are projecting your desires and stuff based on a photo. I question, how can a complex human being be put in a small little gadget? Yes. I always get rattled up when people blame technological stuff. Going onto a dating app is a choice. If the congregation isn't working for you, in the Buddha calls it in the Pali language, Sangha, and in Tamil, it's Sangam. If the Sangam means the people of like-mindedness, why Sangam is important? People of like-mindedness has the extraordinary power in this human life to either uplift you or drag you down. So therefore, how can a gadget out there be responsible for the choices you are making? So therefore, I question, are you bringing projection onto other people via this app? So again, I will end this part by saying, if you are in the world and if you have the privilege and the luxury to date and find your own life partners, get your intentions right, because you, at the very least, educate yourself in knowing the differences of, am I looking for a husband or a wife? Am I looking for a lover, or am I looking for a life partner? These three things are completely different. You will have to ask yourself, when you're going on a dating app, are you going to look, are you looking for a husband? Because as a feminist, as a woman in your own right, if we're talking about 1950s or 1940s, where women were not out working much, culturally speaking, economically speaking, then yes, husbands were important. But now women are working. Now women are, you're independent. You have the right to say, no, this is not working for me. Therefore, why are you looking for a husband? Why are you not looking for a life partner? Because life partner means through the dating process, you are going through a checklist, finding out if they are good for you as an individual, good for our families. Is it because that is why I'm saying it's a privilege. If you are in a position of dating, it's a privilege. And why are you not utilizing your privilege, building on your ancestors' contribution towards your rights to choose who you want to live with?
To unpack what you said, the privilege to date, that statement for me was hit kind of differently. Is what does it mean? Let's unpack dating. What do you have in mind when you say that?
When I say dating is a privilege, I'm saying that in measuring against our ancestors, it means you have something that millions of other people around the world who live in one monoculture, mono-language, mono-ethnic kind of environments. So therefore, it is a privilege that has been bestowed on us to say, this morning I'm going on a date with no fear of persecution whatsoever. So therefore, it is a privilege. So therefore, perhaps what is the intention behind an individual going onto a dating app? What is the intention? What is your approach? Because a privileged tool that you can utilize to empower yourself, at the very least, to find out what kind of people out there, without going into the vibration of negativity.
Yeah.
However, you have to be clear of your intention. What am I looking for? One of the fundamental things that you could do is Google Maslow pyramid of hierarchy, where the theory goes that unless the bottom two layers is sorted out, which is pertaining to our physical environment, food, water, security, a home, is managed and resolved, then you cannot live your best life and evolve. That's what it says. So if you apply that to your dating thing, what are you looking for? Are you looking for a husband in the classic sense? Or a wife in the classic sense? Now, and that's what I'm saying. It's a privilege that comes with education, and we are all building on each other's ancestors, yeah, of all the contribution. So we have a moral duty and a sacred duty, if we have the privilege to date, to use it, to pay respect to our ancestors that have paved the way for us.
I just want to come back on the Maslow's hierarchy of need. When they say love and belonging, they also say friendship, intimacy, family, and sense of connection. So that actually brings out another layer, right? So what is intimacy?
Oprah Mommy taught me one thing that completely revolutionized my life, like, I don't know, 10 years ago.
Tell us.
I was in Miami at a beach, feeling very, very low on that day because I was surrounded. I didn't know Miami Beach was for Baywatch people who looked like models. Me turning up there going, hey, what's going on here? And I was like, oh my God, I feel so ugly. But anyway, after that, I went for a run. I had a coffee and I was sitting at the beach thinking, and then suddenly this gust of wind came and this piece of paper hit my face. I'm going, what is this? So I looked at this paper. Is Mama Winfrey? Tell you, it literally said, each one of us, from the day we are born, we are looking for fundamental questions. And in her 30 years of interviewing people, and she's interviewed thousands, right? And I grew up with her. Literally, most of my stuff I learned, and she brought me my other teachers. That paper, I remember going, hit me, and I was thinking, gosh, I'm trying to be, we say in Malay, control lawa. I was just trying in the midst of all these beautiful people, in fantastic bodies. I'm trying to look lower, and Mama Winfrey just comes, sends a wind, hits a photo, and I take the photo and I take the piece of paper, and she literally said, "Join us on blah blah blah." It was one episode which I went to see that night. It said, each one of us from the day that we are born, and I use this for my therapy. Every client I meet, I bring it. We are all asking for answers to 4 questions every waking and sleeping moment of our lives. Do you see me? Does what I say matter to you? Do you hear me when I speak? Will you hold my hand when I am most vulnerable, naked, and feeling ugly inside? I channeled Mama Winfrey. Mama Winfrey saved me 10 years of psychotherapy money. Let me tell you, it is not cheap out there. So yes, if you have not answered or have been given these answers that you are asking for when you are growing up, in your own nucleus family, in your nuclear family, then at work, at university, and then suddenly you reach a certain age and then you meet somebody, you know, left or right? Anyway, left or right, left and right, left and right. So you are marching there going left, right, and then meeting somebody going, even it doesn't work. That is projecting that lack of 4 questions that you are asking, and you want an individual to give you that validation. So yes, Kuni, you are looking for self-validation externally. Well, good luck to you. How did Dr. Wayne Dyer will say, how's that working for you?
So let's repeat those 4 questions just for the sake of it.
Oh, I will do it. Let me channel Winfrey Mommy.
Please.
Ofra Mommy, Winfrey Auntie, Winfrey Machi.
Yeah, we thank her for this.
And we thank her for this. Let me tell you. Okay. 4 fundamental things. If it's not met in your childhood, you will carry that within you. And in therapy, I have found over and over again, the wounded child is trying to heal, but never had the opportunity to heal and find themselves. And they've now become adult. And the wounded child is actually out there dating, asking these fundamental questions. Do you see me? Do you hear me? Does what I say matter to you? Will you hold my hand when I don't have makeup, vulnerable, naked, and feeling ugly inside? And does your eyes light up when you see me? That is all we're looking for. So as you can see, we have started from, is intimacy possible? I answered, yes, it's possible. But the question is, how authentic are you? And what is your definition of intimacy? People confuse bearing nakedness with another human being with psychological intimacy. Being naked with another person, sexually speaking, is not intimacy. It's a gateway, just a minuscule starting dot in getting away the clothes to psychological intimacy. And psychological intimacy has nothing to do with sex. It takes courage to be psychologically intimate with someone. It takes courage to be vulnerable, and true, authentic way of being, in my opinion, I'm very passionate about this, is to be vulnerable. So sexual intimacy, it is not psychological intimacy. If you want a husband, then you don't need psychological intimacy because you're playing a role. If you have a kid,
that's a really good. Sorry, let me pause there. That's a really good one, because this is part of the stat that we found, right? It's a big percentage of people who are going onto applications to look for a husband or a wife. So are they on there to play a role? And if so, why?
But then, I mean, to be devil's advocate, is it wrong for them to look for a husband if that's what they want?
No,
and if they're in a situation in life that, you know, this hierarchy of needs is not met and they need a partner for that, or they need a husband for that.
That is what we're exploring. Do you need a husband? If we take an example of a woman in her own right that has come a long way, if this individual is working and they can stand up for themselves and speak for themselves, and they are going ahead with their life visions, do they need a husband, or do they need a life partner. The same applies for a man.
Right.
If a man is individually okay, he's evolving, he's worked on himself, etc., etc., is he looking for a wife? If so, it means that if I were to say I'm looking for a wife, thank God I'm not. It's never going to happen. If I were to say I'm looking for a wife and I'm not getting to be married, I would ask in my therapy room, define what marriage is and define the role of a husband and a wife. Because in that defining, you get a narrative of what this individual is looking for. But if they say, I want a life partner, like, again, Mama Winfrey said, a lot of people have confused that one day you are the center of attention on their wedding day. A lot of people confuse that with the actual characteristics and facets and complexities that is involved in making a life with another human being. So that's why she said she will never get married. She's got a life partner. And she always says, if you're just concerned about wearing that white dress or that fantastic sari or whatever it is culturally that you wear, have a party and get it over and done with, and then start dating without actually getting married. So are we talking about marriage or are we talking about life partnership? What is your intention behind using the dating platform? Nobody should blame dating platform, how you're utilizing it. Why are you not having fundamental Q&A sessions as part of your dating process? So what is intimacy and can it be found in the app? Yes, you can find, but how sincere are you? Do you know who you are? What are you without the life partner? Just take a moment and imagine you will never get married. What kind of stuff comes up for you? So if so, are you looking for a partner or a husband or a lover to fill that void? Or are you looking for another human being out there that is courageous like you, asking courageous questions? Because it takes courage to be authentic, because courage means you're going to be isolated.
How have you seen like the impact of people going into dating apps and then not getting the outcome that they want? How have you seen that impact the mental health of your patients and your clients? And what does that show up as?
What it does is, if you do something over and over again and your personal data in terms of responses from external out in is quite negative, what will happen to any human being out there is the reinforcement of I am not good enough. And that this sentence, I am not good enough, takes so many different shapes and sizes, from color of the skin to sexuality to society, particularly our nucleus family. They have a way of programming buttons in us that we are never going to be good enough. That gets reinforced when you are out there dating. So unless these buttons that we are all walking around with, feeling fantastic intellectually, I've got the money, I've got this, blah, 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 so now I'm going to go out dating this, and this. Someone out there is going to come and push the button, going, nah, 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 nah. You thought you got rid of it, because that's going to happen over and over again. So again, Miss Winfrey said, when something is brought to you through a situation, your job is to stop, take a moment, and ask this fundamental question: what is this here to teach me? Because if you don't ask that question, that lesson is going to be brought to you over and over again until you get the lesson. Only the people that are bringing you the lesson is going to wear a different pair of pants and skirts and saris and trousers. But the vibration is going to be the same, trust me. And that's why I love Eckhart Tolle. That which you resist shall persist. It's not about intellectually doing something and laws of attraction. No. That which you are, you attract not that which you think you are, you attract that which you are. And so if you keep saying to yourself, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, but externally you've done all the trimmings that you are, and you are putting yourself out there. Like, again, it takes courage to be out there. But internally, if we haven't resolved our stuff, there is a strong chance we are going to project our internal desperations onto the people that you are dating. So therefore, how free are you when you are dating? Where is the space to enjoy and laugh and have a good laugh with another human being alive at the same time, under the same sky? But we are not able to see that human being, the magnificence of that human being, with their own stories, with their own laughter and joy.
Yeah. It's really simple. It sounds very simple and it's very obvious, but then it's not easy because we grew up in this world where we are told that we have to be someone else. We have to portray a certain image so that we can get certain opportunities. And when I came back from studying in Australia, my experience with just like applying for jobs and whatnot, I have to pretend or portray that this is who I am. And I have to suppress parts of me so that it doesn't seem too intimidating or too much for them to comprehend. And then later on, when I had a much better understanding of myself and having that awareness, when I was on dating apps, I would see the links of how I would carry this certain energy that I was carrying and at interviews and saying like, why is it that I'm putting up like a window? And why is it that I'm bringing this to the dating arena of my life? Because then I'm trying to portray or put myself forward in a certain light so that someone else can see me in the light and then be attracted to me and then say, oh, I want to date this person because she seems together, because she has XYZ. But that is not who I am. Like there are parts of me like that, but that's not all of me. And so then it becomes harder every time when you interact with them more to show like the parts of yourself that you've suppressed, right? So I find that it's a simple solution. What you're saying is like, okay, yeah, you can do it. It's clear, but then how to do it is not. It's not that straightforward because you have to face your own demons and like you have to come to those difficult conversations, difficult moments with yourself first, and then with people, and then only you open that doorway.
Understand, and I do believe that you need to know yourself first before you go and look for someone else. But that said, we're all in different walks of life, different stages in our lives, and the awareness or the lack of awareness when we are meeting people is a very tough thing to judge. Now let's go on. The next step is like, how do we build this intimacy with people?
First, it starts with authenticity. Being authentic for yourself, being clear about what life is. Ask existential. First of all, I think the self-inquiry must take place within you. And sexual intimacy, dating intimacy, it exists, but intimacy is psychological. It's courage. It's not about sex. It is not about projecting socially constructed narratives of masculinity and femininity. It's about two individuals coming together as a team and managing the coexisting. Living together is not the same as dating, and that is life partnership. That means you are going to live with another human being, with moods, with everything, with financial issues, with all these things, because life is fluid from womb to tomb. Everything else is a lottery. But how you deal with it, it's much easier if you have another fellow comrade who says, today we've got 5 ringgit or pounds, wherever you are, and let's deal with that. That's life partnership. Yes, you can get intimacy. You definitely get intimacy, but are you intimate with your own self?
Exactly.
Starting with your own intimate thoughts pertaining to that which you're desperate for.
And people can only meet you where they've only as far or as deep as they've met themselves. So if you're expecting someone to have deep intimacy with you, I mean, if I'm expecting someone to have deep intimacy with me, I need to have that with myself first before I can expect it from someone else. Because then when they give it to me, I'll be able to manage it and understand it and accept it and embrace it, as opposed to like, I don't know what to do with this, so I'm going to just reject you or like sabotage this dynamic so that I don't have to cope with it.
And let's define intimacy. What is intimacy? Intimacy is really the 5 questions, isn't it? Do you see me? Do you hear me? Does what I say matter to you? Will you hold my hand when I'm weak, vulnerable, and feeling ugly inside? Does your eyes light up when you see me? Do I matter? Because there is a a lot of research has been done out there, particularly on the psychology of falling in love, which is a socially constructed narrative. Nobody fell in love for thousands of years. It's a new thing. People love. People came together, married, had children. And that's why there is a psychology of falling in love. It's lots of books out there. So so when you're dating, you must ask yourself, I think, am I wanting to fall in love? Because when you say fall in love, you will at some point fall out of love. Is that what you're looking for? Are you looking for the effects of the euphoria on the physiology, the heightened senses and emotions? Is that what you're looking for? Or are you looking for that silent intimacy? For me, intimacy is silence. I sit for people, and I have this, I'm very blessed to have cultivated this with most of my loved ones. Like this silence. Can you be in silence for 2 minutes for the people that you're dating? Test it out. When you go out for dates, just sit for 2-3 minutes and wait. Let's say okay, I don't want to be punitive. Try for 1 minute without playing any roles or saying to look intellectual or your interest, nothing. Just sit for 1 minute and just be. Your body will tell you. That's intimacy. Being naked, having sex with someone, that is just the starting point to the psychological intimacy that we are looking for. So therefore, dating is a luxurious privilege that must be utilized to empower your life choices. And if dating apps doesn't work for you, you must find creative ways to meet other people.
Online dating, it is a vehicle. It's a vehicle, It's an option, it's a tool. But again, if you're looking for intimacy, start with yourself. And then when you feel you're getting there, ask fundamental, important, relevant questions.
Be courageous.
And be courageous to ask those questions, because you might come across as a weirdo when you go and ask on a date, what are your views on, spirituality, or what are your views on self-growth?
What will you do if you have gay children?
Yeah.
What will you do if your child has got darker skin and the society that you live in does not approve of darker skin? These are all existential, fundamental questions that must,
right.
That's why I'm saying it takes courage.
Right.
You must know the life partner is going to be there as a team to protect, love, nourish your offsprings. So therefore, we're looking for a life partner that's going to be around. Yeah. And so
makes sense.
Have lovers and get married, have husbands, but these are all just labels. What we all want is a partner to be there for us and answer the questions on a daily basis and be there for us. And also take responsibility to be courageous and call each other out. Particularly if you're heterosexual, cisgendered heterosexual, if you want to get married and have children, I would say to you, be encouraging you to discuss with your potential husbands or life partners, when you have children, how will they feel, respond when you are out of shape carrying a child and then put on weight? And, these are kind of fundamental things. Will they be punitive if you are no longer the lady that you were prior to having a child? What will be their default positions? What will happen if you have a child with special needs? So dating means is asking questions, courageous, existential questions.
When I'm trying to imagine myself asking some of those questions to some of my dates, and I'm thinking, oh, I might not like what they're going to say, feel like it's confrontational, or I might take it personally. I think the reason why we're not going there is because there's a fear of what we're going to hear.
Yeah. Particularly if you turned up with a nice list of things and coming with a balloon, and then that bubble, it fits very nice visually, and you think, damn, I'm really hoping this is that is what we're talking about, projection. You're projecting all these things. And if you're not asking fundamental, courageous questions, the way you have said it, what is that? You are afraid your bubble will be plop, and you'll come back.
Right.
I like the sound
Can
effect.
you see that? Can you see that mushroom going plop? So you'll come back with a negative impact. That just because someone has rejected you on some points or some stuff, it is not personal. It's just life pointing you to a different direction, to a different person. That's all it is. But if you keep going back on your dates, feeling negative and internalizing stuff, you need to stop your dating apps, take time out and go to talking therapy or work on yourself.
We get lost in, the details of things when it's happening, right? And because of societal pressure and kind of the narrative that you should be married by a certain age, you should have children by a certain age, and not completely unfair, because for women, we have a biological clock. And so for those who want to have children, they also feel the desire to get this process going quick so that they don't miss the boat, so to speak. But it is very easy to get caught up in and get lost in that process and say, I got rejected, so I need to keep changing myself so that I can shape up to be somebody's potential partner. But what you just said is a good reminder to tell people that, if you're not feeling good when you're on these apps, pause, take a moment, take a breather, figure some stuff out, go and get the support or guidance you need, and then come back to it.
I think culturally, our culture stipulates that taking care of ourselves is selfish. No, it's actually self-preservation. So when people show you are the first time, believe them. And when you're dating, look at how the person is in the surrounding in that moment. Are they treating the person who's serving you with love and compassion? When people show you who they are the first time, your job is to believe them. Trust me, we've all been there trying to intellectuals going, pavam, but pity, and there must be this. No, these days, when I see someone show me themselves, I'm like, Lord, thank you so much. I'm going to buy myself my own Mars bars and Snickers. So you have to, because that is a gift. Don't show me who you are. Let me see who you are.
I think that's a really nice way to end. Before we close off, we always do our rapid fire questions. As a human being, what is the first sign that you sense or see when you are out of balance?
When I feel irritated, immediately I go, oh, something's working out. I quickly find the balance. So I find irritation or lack of patience for things that don't bother me. Usually, if it starts bothering me, then I know I'm out of balance.
And the second question, what is your method of coping when you're out of balance?
The go-to on a daily basis, that is, it's short meditations. But I have a ritual when I start in the morning. I do my sadhanas, my Vedic sadhanas. I do my sittings, my meditation. I do not come out of the house without my an hour and a half starting process. And I find that when I don't do that, my day goes off balance and I invite a lot of challenges. So I start with my routine.
Yeah, that's a good one. And lastly, what is one book that impacted your approach to well-being or wellness?
Oh, yeah, that is hands down Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Krishna.
Thank you so much for having me. And I just want to say, no matter who you are or who you think you're not, no matter where you are, know that there is a reason you are here. If you are alive and you are on earth, you matter. But stop looking to matter through the eyes of another, but matter to yourself. Start there. But thank you so much for having me. It's been really fun.
Yeah, same here. If you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and select that follow or subscribe button. For now, stay safe and we'll see you next week.